Does your house look like Does your house look like and have you been considering remodeling your home for some time now? Well, if you love real estate like I do and appreciate the attention to detail in the craftsmanship required to build a remodel or a gorgeous home, then I got the perfect company for you. Guys, I highly recommend Design Zone Remodeling. They are a stellar company that will turn your outdated home into your own personal sanctuary. They specialize in bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, and full house remodels. Design Zone Remodeling has a reputation for excellent workmanship, competitive fees, and being able to offer a wide range of services and deliver the outstanding results to their clients. I use Design Zone Remodeling on my personal properties. Give Design Zone Remodeling a call today at 725-223-0871 or visit their website at designzoneremodeling.com to request a free consultation today. Is your credit score holding you back from purchasing a home? GC Credit Coaches is a repair company that's made easy. Their goal is to challenge and remove all negative errors that hurt your credit score. On average, GC clients see about 10.2 negative items removed over 4 months. Start improving your credit score today with a simple 2-minute online enrollment for a free consultation and a complete credit audit. GC Credit Coaches offers competitive monthly pricing, no contracts, no hidden fees, and the service stops once you are satisfied. GC Credit Coaches removes inquiries, collections, charge-off bankruptcies, and repossessions. Don't forget to visit gccreditcoaches.com. And welcome live to the LV Home Experts Podcast. This is where we talk about real estate and financing. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So today we have a very special guest, especially when it comes to home inspections. I've got the man, the myth, the legend. I'm bringing him on today. This is a very important topic, especially when a lot of Americans are buying homes today in today's market. This is like one of the highest price tickets you will ever purchase. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars on a home. And you want to make sure you are buying the right home. You're not buying a lemon. And it's so important that you conduct a home inspection, even though that you are buying a brand new or a resale. Believe it or not, on a brand new property, you probably have more problems on a brand new property. So today, I'm going to welcome my special guest, Ben. How's everything going today, Ben?
Things are good. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, I do appreciate you taking your time, coming out here, because I think this is a very important topic that a lot of people will pass and overlook, because sometimes my clients will ask me, should I do a home inspection, especially like on a brand new home and stuff like that, right? Because they think it's brand new. But a lot of builders out there, especially first-time home buyers, they don't understand that this is a brand new home that's being built. The home hasn't even settled in yet. And also there's multiple contractors that actually is contracted from the builder, right? So they don't work for the builder, right? So it's all piecework. It's not like they're getting paid by the hour, right? So at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to make sure there's nothing wrong with the home, right? The last thing you want to do is move in and you run into some problems. Now, let's start off by Ben Grove is a licensed inspector out here in the state of Nevada, and you are the owner of VIP Inspections, correct?
VIP Inspection LLC, yes.
LLC, okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing home inspections?
Me personally here in Las Vegas, 10 years now.
Okay.
And I personally inspected probably 6,000 houses.
6,000 houses?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of money. I'm in the wrong business.
That's a lot of houses.
So 10 years, over 6,000 houses. So you probably seen everything.
I every once in a while I still get surprised, but you know what? We've seen just about it all.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the certifications to be a licensed home inspector?
Well, in Nevada, you do have to be licensed by the state and the real estate division.
Okay.
So you have to do some coursework, some classroom hours. You have to be able to pass a test, and then do some sort of apprenticeship type things.
Okay.
And then you can get the license from the state. Some states don't even require licensing, which is interesting.
And I think this is important because sometimes people will always hire a home inspector based upon the costs, but not the experience. And I think that should be a big deal as far as experience, right? Because some of these home inspectors, just the way that they write the report, and I look at it, I'm like, man, I don't think these guys are that experienced. And buyers really look to their agents to find the right home inspector. Now, as an agent, we give you multiple options as far as like, hey, who to use. But typically, a lot of these agents will use home inspectors that they are comfortable with, where they've done multiple deals together, and they know that they're good home inspectors. But as far as like for home inspectors, right, what are the things that you should look out for as a buyer looking for the right home inspector? I think this is important right here.
Yeah, it is. And you said experience. Experience is probably one of the biggest things. And, I like people to call and ask me the question that you just asked, which is how long have I been doing this and how many have I done?
Yeah.
I like that question because I guess the answer that I gave you. So experience is huge. Also, the technology that the good inspectors are using now. Okay. So things like infrared, which is thermal imaging, which shows insulation deficiencies, leaks, moisture, a lot of things that you can't even see with the naked eye when you go in the house. You'll see that with infrared. So no matter what inspector you hire, always ask the question, are you using infrared cameras? Because that's huge. Also drone technology for roof inspections and the upper parts of the house. So that's a thing that we've been using for a couple years. You got to have that too, especially on two-story houses. You got to have a drone inspection.
I remember back in the day when you used to climb up on top of the roof and you had like a ladder. Yeah. The dangerous thing about that is you can also break the tiles by climbing up there.
I can break my neck too.
Well, forget the home inspector. I'm worried about the tile. And I'm sure you probably, have you ever broken a tile?
Yeah, actually back in the day when we walked on roofs, I did it on a brand new house one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and now the builders will tell us, don't go on the roof. They'll let us do the drone, but they say don't go on the roof. Mm-hmm. Yeah, way back in the day, there was a new house, and we walked the roof, and we broke some tile in a new house. Yeah.
Now, not all home inspectors even have a drone, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's the question you have to ask when you're interviewing inspectors.
Which is kind of weird. I've seen some home inspectors still will climb up on the roof. However, number one, it's dangerous. Number two, you could break the tiles. And with the drone, you can get better footage, and you can get really up close to see exactly, what's going on with that roof.
Yeah, bird's eye top-down footage. Yeah. So even when I'm standing on a roof, I'm looking out this way. Mm-hmm. With the drone, we're looking directly down on the roof, so we can see way more with the drone than I can if I'm standing on the roof. Yeah.
Another thing that's also important is as far as like insurance and the bond that you have. Yeah. That also plays an important role. Let's talk about that. What's like the minimum insurance that somebody should look out for, and how much they are bonded with their company?
Well, the minimums in the state is not that high. Okay. But we have to carry at least $1 million, and that's because we work on the new homes.
Yeah.
So
what's fascinating is that a lot of new home builders don't really like home inspectors, especially the superintendent, because we just put more work on them. And every time I go to a new home orientation, right, they always talk shit about the home inspector. Like he doesn't know what he's doing, and it's like always an uphill battle. But at the end of the day, you have to have a third party that represents you, because that superintendent really represents the builder. They don't represent the buyer, right? Yeah. All they're trying to do is get everything done, slap it together, especially in today's market. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. With these new homes, it's getting worse. It really is. And here's why. Because the market did slow down, okay? And a lot of these corporate companies have really laid off a lot of these superintendents. And there's a lot of pressure on these superintendents, because I have friends that are superintendents, and they've been with companies for 10 years, and they're really downsizing. But now things are starting to pick up a little bit, so they can't keep up with demand. And typically, a superintendent, to run efficiently, can mandate around 20 houses at one time. right? Now, if they have an assistant, they could do probably about 30. But because they were cutting people like so short, what's happening now is that there's so much pressure on the superintendent, right? Because the builders want things closed by a certain time, right? And what's happening is when you go and meet the superintendent, he's just gassing you up, you know, basically just telling you what you want to hear. Or if you have certain issues with certain problems, he'll try to deflect it and say, hey, let's move forward. We're not going to fix these things. And that's why it's very important. Number one, you have to have a strong agent that could take a home inspection report and say, look, we want these things done. I don't care what you say. It is what it is, right? Even though this is through our third-party company, we know that baseboards are crooked. You're missing this. This needs to be done. This electrical outlet is not working. I've also seen in reports that the windows are installed backwards, or there's condensation inside the windows that basically just tells you the seals are broken, right? So it's like, why close on the deal and try to fix it later on? Because when you close on especially on like a brand new home, and you move in, you start to see the window seals are broken. Now you got to deal with the stucco. You got to deal with everything. And what I've noticed, a lot of these builders will kind of like push it and brush it to the side to the point where you just get fed up. And next thing you know it, you look on like these builders' reviews, like they all have like bad reviews. It's crazy. But they just don't care because these are like Fortune 500 companies where they're just pushing thousands of homes a year, which is, it's so baffling to me. It's like they're so good at the front end, but it seems like they fall off on the back end. But this is just not to talk bad about builders, because there are some superintendents out there that I work with, and they know who I am, they know how I work, and they just do such a great job. It's unbelievable. So you do have some of those bad eggs as well. So just something that you guys have to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to home inspection, right? When is a home inspection to be done? So this is how it works, okay? When you buy a home, you're under contract, you're going to go through a period where it's a due diligence period. And this is based upon a resale. Typically, it's about 10 days, but depending on which market you are in, it could be 15, 12, but it's all negotiable. But in today's market, it's about a 10-day due diligence period. You're going to want to do an inspection within that due diligence period. The faster that you do it, the faster you get back to report, then you can hurry up and negotiate the deal. Excuse me. I have allergies, guys. So let me take a quick drink real quick. So a home inspection really covers like 6 main components to a home. And if you disagree with me, please let me know. You have the foundation that you guys look at, the structure of the home, the roof, the AC and heating, the electrical, and the plumbing. I would say those are the main components to a home. Am I wrong?
No, I think you nailed it. That's right.
Okay. So let's talk about this. So during your due diligence period, you're going to go in, you're going to inspect it, right? Kind of explain what is it that you inspect and what are the things that you actually really look out for. Like kind of explain that process, because I think you kind of start off on the outside, right? Or something like that. Yeah,
my process is I'll start on the outside of the home. I'll do the exterior, get my roof pictures, look at the outside, look at the things that are on the outside, and just things that you learn to do over time, like start the irrigation system from the garage, and then while you're outside, you can watch what's going on with that at the same time, and watch different things at the same time. Do the outside work in, and really we're looking anything that we can see. Now, we're not allowed to take things apart. We're not allowed, of course, to do anything destructive or invasive, of course, but we're just looking at things, anything that we can turn off and on and operate, like the irrigation system. And we do that. I'm not even sure every inspector actually does irrigation, but we do irrigation. Turn those on. Anything we can turn on, similar to the way the homeowner is going to do when they come in the home. I mean, they're going to turn on the heat. They're going to turn on the air. They're going to turn on the lights. They're going to turn on the garage door opener. Anything that we can operate, we want to test and look for deficiencies. What I do is I note deficiencies for repair. Yeah. And I also give ideas for maintenance too. So I'll say, here's something, the garage door works, but maybe it needs adjusted. Mm-hmm. So give them ideas for that too. So on the exterior, I know that you look at the main line, right? At the meter. Kind of explain that part. Yeah, one of the first things we do before we turn anything on, like the irrigation or any water, is we'll go out to the curb and we'll look at the water meter itself. So when nothing is on in the house, that meter should be completely stopped. There should be no flow going through that meter at all. And if there is, then we want to know where is that going, because sometimes you can have an underground leak, you can have a leak in the system. So if we have flow that's unaccounted for, then we want to take some additional steps and try to figure out where that's going.
And you'll be able to help identify where that leak is, correct?
A lot of times, yes. So the next step, if I have flow, I'll turn off the supply to the irrigation system and then use some power deduction. If it stops, well, then that was going to the irrigation system. Then maybe I'll turn off the inside of the house. If I turn everything off and we still have flow, then we might have a leak on the main line, and that's something we want to know about.
You know what's funny? You go through that whole process and you find out it's just a gasket in the toilet. It's kind of warped.
Yeah. well,
and that thing is like spinning and you're like, what the hell? But it's just that little gasket. Now, when it comes to plumbing, we haven't talked about this for some time. Chakits plumbing, okay? Now, Chakits plumbing is a certain type of fixture around, I'm going to say around 2000s. There was a class action lawsuit where a lot of companies were ordering this piece of metallic piece, correct?
Yep.
And plumbers would install it into these new home builds. After a while, the home or the hard water would actually corrode this metallic piece and you would spring leaks. And what would happen is, if it started leaking, based upon this class action lawsuit, you were able to take money out to make those repairs. Now, some people were taking the money out, didn't make the repairs, and sold the home. So I think this is important to check if the property has metallic plumbing or is some way associated with metallic plumbing. And I think this is important. And how do you identify that?
So one of the biggest pieces of information you're going to get aside from problems to repair is just information about the home. So what kind of plumbing do I have in the home?
Yeah.
Identifying that. Everything you said about Chakits was correct. It was a problem with the metallic fitting. Yeah. Plastic plumbing, or what they call PEX plumbing, is still used today in the new homes, except it's for the most part non-metallic. And that was the difference between that and Chakits. So when we want to identify plumbing, there's a few things that we can do. Now, again, we can't cut open the wall and look, but we can look a lot of other places. So we can look under the sink. We can look in the electric panel. And if somebody's listening, go out and look at your electric panel, and there might be a sticker in your electric panel that tells you at least an idea of what kind of plumbing is in the home. Yeah. So you can look for that. In the laundry room, where the laundry valves or where the washing machine attaches to the laundry valves, you can sometimes see there what kind of plumbing. Or if it's a one-story home instead of a two-story home, one-story home, it's very easy to see in the attic. A lot of times you can see what kind of plumbing.
Now, I do have a few investment properties that I rehabbed, and I don't even know why I ran copper instead of PEX. But my question to you is that buyers will ask me this all the time, because especially in the East Coast, they're running, copper. Is copper better than the PEX, or would you prefer the PEX? Because all the new home builds now are all PEX, right?
Traditionally, people think that copper was better.
Yeah.
Here, I don't think it is, because of how corrosive the water is.
Yeah.
So the water will do the same thing to copper over time as it did to the Chakits fittings, which is it'll cause it to corrode and potentially wear out. So for Las Vegas, I really think PEX is better. And the new home builders, they're doing it to save cost, is I think the biggest thing with that. And copper is still very, very durable, of course. But I like the PEX, the newer PEX products with the non-metallic fittings on. They don't build up either. You go into some of the old homes that have the copper lines, and you turn on the hot water and you don't get any flow out of the hot water. That's because of the buildup inside of the water line.
Yeah. Now, another issue that I always run into is that the stucco out here, because it gets hot, cold, it expands and also contracts too as well. And the type of stucco that they use, it's not that great of a stucco, right? It depends, right, on the builder. However, this is just like entry-level homes around 600 and below. You'll tend to get cracks, hairline cracks. And this is normal. However, how do you identify if we have a foundation issue?
So foundation issues usually will show up as a crack in the slab itself, which you may or may not be able to see. And sometimes the only place you can see that is around the edge of the home, around the outside. But if you have a crack in the slab, you'll probably have settlement too. and that'll show up a couple different places. So that'll show up in the interior, in the drywall, around the corner of doorways. Now, every house we look at has some drywall cracking somewhere, right? Because the drywall seams, and you mentioned it, the temperature difference, the humidity difference, expansion and contraction. So when you go in the home, you'll see like long cracks that go along the seam of the drywall.
Mm-hmm.
Those are perfectly normal. Those every house has them.
Okay.
What you're looking for in a structural issue is you're looking for jagged cracks. It'll be like at the corner of a doorway, and those can indicate settlement. So those can tell you that there could be a problem with the foundation.
What about the dimensions of the crack? Is there like a rule of thumb where, you look at some cracks, you have a hairline crack that just splits open, but which, you can caulk, but then what happens if it kind of like lifts up a little bit?
Yeah,
I feel like you run into some problems right there, right?
That can be the sign of a problem. And the rule of thumb was always the quarter, is if you can fit a quarter sideways into it, then it could be a little bit of a bigger problem. If it's smaller than that, then it's probably just the natural hairline cracks too. You can run into problems too. The biggest enemy of stucco is moisture. Mm-hmm. So if a house has had maybe like grass where they've had sprinklers and the sprinklers have contacted the stucco or sprayed up against the stucco, that moisture's bad too over time for the stucco. So that'll start to cause the stucco to maybe just deteriorate.
Okay. What about like the sewage line? Because I noticed like with new home builds, there's also a sticker inside that panel to let the homeowner know that the plumber had came back out, sent out a camera to make sure the sewage line, which is the gray line, everything is all good. Is that something that you offer? Because I noticed a lot of home inspectors do not send out cameras like underneath the sewage line to kind of see what's going on. And I'm just talking about a resale, not a brand new home. Is that something that you do offer? And another thing, is that something that you would recommend for a buyer?
So there are times that I recommend it. So I have some language in my report. I think every buyer should be made aware of the possibility of getting it if they want it. There's times I might recommend it. So let's say I know where that sewer line is and we know where it is and there's a large tree maybe close to the sewer line and we're saying, wow, you could have root intrusions. Maybe the water or the drains inside aren't flowing properly, so we're not getting good flow in the drains. Then I'm going to go ahead and recommend and say you should probably get a plumber out. Now, I think most of the time, I don't think home inspectors should be doing sewer scope inspections.
Yeah, okay.
I think it should be handled by a plumber.
Okay.
In theory, it sounds fairly easy. You have a camera scope. It goes down the line. You look up and down. In reality, it can be a little trickier than that because a lot of homes have backwater valves. Mm-hmm. Depending on the elevation of the home, that's like a one-way valve that keeps the water from backing up. That's a different kind of procedure that you need to do some of those. So that really should be done by a plumber.
Now, I like how you just disclose that. Now, here's the thing. As a home inspector, you kind of cover the general stuff. Sometimes what happens is I notice if it's beyond your scope and you need to get somebody that's certified or licensed in that field, then at that point, what I would do is I would extend the due diligence period. And this has happened a couple times. Let me give you an example. I think it was probably about a year ago. We had some problems with the roof, right? Obviously, you're going to crawl inside the attic to see if there's any type of leaks. You're flying that drone. You're going to see if there's any cracks. But if there's additional problems as far as moisture, there was a time where we did a deal together where I actually had to extend the close of escrow and send a professional roofer out there to see the extent of the damage and the costs, to allow the buyer to make that determination. Are they willing to absorb that cost or what the total cost is? And if there was a cost, how much was it? And we took that cost and negotiated that cost to have, number one, the seller to fix it or reimbursed us for the cost and also the time and effort to do those kind of things. And I think that's important that people know these things.
Yeah, we are the general doctor, the general practitioner, the family doctor. And then when we see something that goes beyond what we can see, then we're going to recommend further evaluation. So it might be a roofer, it might be an AC guy, it might be a plumber. And the big thing you mentioned, the word was cost.
Yes.
Because people always tell me or ask me, I'll say, okay, I think there's a problem with this. Well, the first question, what is it going to cost? I don't know the answer to that a lot of the time. So that's where, like you said, with the roof, you really want to get your arms around how much that's going to cost. And that's where you need to have a roofer come out and look at it, or at least look at the report. A lot of times I've had roofers be able to do pretty well just looking at the pictures from the report.
Okay. Now, one of the issues that I've always ran into for new homes, it's the electrical. Sometimes the half hot is not connected. You have the wrong amperage for, the main panel. So when it comes to electrical, what are you looking at for the electrical part?
Yeah, a lot of the things you just mentioned, the panel, the amperages, the breakers. Newer homes, like you probably know, they use a special kind of breaker called an AFCI that's safer. They're also a lot more delicate, so they tend to fail a lot more often. You might have a loose connection. You might have a pinched wire someplace that's causing the AFCI to not reset. So, and then we're testing the outlets too. So we use a tester right at the outlet that's telling us if the wires are connected properly. So to show, do we have neutral? Do we have ground? Are they connected properly? If there's any sort of miswired condition, it'll show up on the tester. And then of course, we want to anything that's not working. Who knows? It might not be connected, right? So. And then on the resale side, you get into trouble where people have added things. That's kind of the biggest enemy, one of the biggest enemies on the resale side. And you don't want to do it yourself electrical work. That's not a good idea.
Now I want to go back to the plumbing real quick. I want to talk about the pressure of the water, right? Because sometimes people will say, "Hey, Chuck, the pressure is not that great." And there's a place where you can make that adjustment, which I would never advise you to make that adjustment. I would have somebody else do it, right, for liability purposes. But sometimes you may be purchasing a shower head that saves money, and it doesn't give that much pressure because that's what that shower head is designed for. But what is the regulated pressure, the PSI on that thing, right, at the valve? Like, what's the recommended for just a 1,800 square foot home?
So what we like to see pressure-wise is anything under 90 pounds when we measure it, and above 50 or 60. So let's say 50 to 90, and things tend to be higher here than lower.
Okay.
I think that's why a lot of homes have that pressure valve where you can reduce and control the pressure coming in. If you have things like water softeners, reverse osmosis systems, they don't like high pressure, so it can be damaging to those. Even your sinks, your fixtures, your faucets, and all that. So that's why a lot of the newer homes have that pressure reducing valve. Pressure, though, as you pointed out, is different than flow. So you can have good pressure and you can turn on the valves, and maybe you don't have good flow.
Yeah.
So those can be two different things, and there can be other problems, behind that if you don't have good flow.
What would cause the flow?
Sometimes the pressure valve itself. We found instances where the pressure valve is faulty, and that's just reducing the amount of flow to the whole house. We've seen that happen too. But showers, you mentioned the new water-saving shower heads. Showers have a couple of things that are supposed to be more safety features, and of course the shower head that reduces the usage. Also the valves itself. A lot of times the shower valves are set to not get as hot as, let's say, the water that comes out of the faucet. And that's kind of a safety feature, just so that the water in the shower doesn't get too hot. But that's one of the things we hear is people say, well, my shower's not hot enough. And then there's ways too, really, if you want to change it, there's ways you can change it.
Now I want to move on to the water heater. You got a tankless water heater, which is instant hot. However, it's not really instantly hot. You got to run it, but the good news is once it's constantly running, it will stay hot. But if the power goes out, then there's no hot water. Now with a tank, if the power does go out, you still have water that's in the tank. So those are kind of like the pros and cons. But my question to you is that how long does a tank actually last for, one of those hot water heaters?
We say average is about 10 years.
Okay.
But then again, we see ones that are 18, 19, 20. So, the 10 is just an average, and then some of them go out at 3 or 4. But if you have one that's past the 10-year mark, it's probably getting up there life expectancy wise. So we say about 10 years.
So what about the maintenance on it? Because I know that obviously with the tanks, you can maintain it. You build out some calcium. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's a great point, because if your water heater is new or newer, you can do some things to help it, like flushing. They'll tell you to flush it maybe once a year. There's rods inside the water heater called anodes that protect it from corrosion. You can change those every couple years. If you're buying a house and you already have an older water heater, though, there's probably not too much you can do, because if it hasn't been flushed before, and let's say 3, 4, 5 years has passed, everything that's in the tank is probably solidified. Damn. So maintenance and flushing is great if you start out when the water heater's Newer.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Here we go.
Attention contractors, remodelers, and homeowners. Is your renovation becoming a pain in the glass? Here at Glass Vegas, we take care of all of your glass needs. From a broken window to custom shower doors, mirrors, winding closures, storefronts, railings, and much more. We can even help you with new or replacement thermally broken windows. We're a full-service, woman-owned glass company that provides unparalleled workmanship, excellent communication, and great customer service. Glass Vegas, we do glass with class.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the LV Home Experts Podcast. This is where we talk about real estate and financing. So today we are talking about home inspections, why you need to get a home inspection, no matter if you're buying a brand new home or a resale home with Grove. VIP inspections, that's right. So earlier we're talking about the exterior of the home. Moving on into the interior, I want to cover the AC unit, heating, right? There are two types of units. You have the split system and also the package unit. The package unit is basically the whole unit, the heating and the cooling on top of your roof. And a split system is the condensers on the side. Then typically you have the furnace inside your attic. Older homes, you'll kind of see them inside the garage, which is, when I was a AC technician, I used to love it when it was in the garage because it's a lot easier to service inside the garage versus up in the attic when it's 120 degrees. Also, you have gas and you also have electric. So I want to talk about the air conditioning and heating unit. What are the things that you look at when it comes to that?
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of things, like I said, at least to report what equipment's in the house. So we're looking at what you just said, the type of equipment, split system, package unit. We're looking at size, we're looking at age, we're looking at, is it original or has it been replaced? We're looking at the type of refrigerant, the type of Freon that's in it, which is a big deal right now because a lot of the older systems are running on R22, which is an older Freon. Yeah. That's being phased out, a lot harder to get. So now if you still have an R22 system, you should know that. It's not necessarily that you have to run out and replace it, but you should know it because that R22 is getting a lot harder
to get. Are they still making refrigerant for R22?
No.
Okay.
No.
But there are new compressors that you can switch out and you can convert it, right?
It's really hard right now to convert part of the system.
Okay.
Right now, if you have an older system, let's say a system that's older than 10 or 15 years and it's an R22 system, you really pretty much have to replace the entire system.
Now, these condensers, right, if you got to replace them, let me just tell you, just the condenser alone could be about like $3,400. But if you replace an air conditioning unit, we're talking about like $9,000. This thing is not cheap. So I would highly probably recommend that you get a home warranty. However, when you are looking at your air conditioning, right, I want you to take a look at the SEER ratings. I think right now, according to code, the minimum is 13 SEER. Matter of fact, I was just at a brand new model, and on their form said it comes with a 16 SEER. But as I was doing the video home tour, right, I noticed it was only at 13. So this is just a quick tip, guys. Whatever it says on there, you'd better make sure you have the right SEER rating. Explain what the SEER rating is for a consumer and why this is important.
That is a level of efficiency. Yeah. So kind of like the MPG in your car.
Yeah.
What's it going to cost you to run? So when you purchase a unit, every SEER rating gets progressively more expensive above the minimum.
Okay.
So a 16 is definitely an upgrade. But if I was purchasing a new unit today, I would purchase at least a 16 because I think there's payback to step up to a 16. You can go all the way up to 20, 22, even slightly beyond that. Those units get so expensive, though, that the payback period is much, much longer if you want to purchase something with a SEER rating of over 20. So it's going to cost you less every day and every year to operate the unit, but it's going to cost you more to buy it in the first place. But 16 is definitely an upgrade over the minimum. But with the builders, we've seen instances the last couple of years where those units are hard to get, right? So somebody will contract for a 16 and they'll be like, well, we got to put this 13 in today.
Yeah.
But then we'll come back in a year and we'll swap it out for your 16.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that a lot lately. Now, I want to go into a home inspection report. So this is how it works, guys. If you are purchasing a property from out of state, you guys come out here, you find a home that you like, we go under contract, we go through our whole due diligence period. You don't have to come back here for the home inspection report. There are some people that need to, and it's also good to come during the home inspection. Come during the home inspection. The reason why this is important is if you're buying a resale and you're not mechanically inclined and you want to learn the functions of your home, right? This is the best time to come. And you're probably going to want to come towards the end of the home inspection because a typical home inspection should take probably about 2 hours, I would say, right?
Yeah, you can't really do a good one in less than 2 hours.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I say come towards the end is because the last thing I want you to do as a consumer, as Ben is trying to do his whole home inspection, it takes 2 hours, and you're overseeing everything and asking questions, you're taking up too much time. It's better to come about 30 minutes before he's done, and typically I'll have Ben give me a call or give the client a call, and we'll meet up. And at that point, he's already taken a bunch of pictures. We will go through the process together, and he'll show you exactly the major things that are wrong with the home. So that way, if you don't understand it, he can physically show you what's wrong, what could be replaced. So that way you have a general idea, because a lot of people just don't understand the functions of the home. And I think this is important. Also, if you are out of state, you don't have to be here. You write out a full report, correct?
Yeah, we do. And, I love having that opportunity to meet the buyer at the home, just for all the reasons that you said, because we can go all through that and see that. A lot of times, though, we can't. So now we're doing some other things. We can do a FaceTime with you from the home if we can work that out, just to do a walkthrough from there. But really, we've designed the report to be as self-explanatory as we possibly can. Okay. So if somebody can't be there, what we'll do, we'll get the report out to you. You can take a look at it. And then once you have it in front of you, if you want, we can sit down and we'll get on a call. You'll look at it, we'll look at it, and we'll talk our way through it. But there's some things that we do. The summary that we do in the report, we like to put, like I said, 2 types of items in there. The first kind is the repair items that we recommend repair on. And then the other things is some other more maintenance-oriented things. But everything we do a finding, we do a picture, we do a recommendation, and we do a caption, which is the location where the picture was taken. So that makes it just as easy to navigate through as we can.
And I think this is important, too, is because when I am creating up in an addendum or a home inspection request for repair form, everything is all identified based upon numbers. And we're going to go through a report together. We're going to look at it because when you renegotiate certain items that you want fixed, I look back at the report and also send over the report with the attachment, right? And basically says, hey, I want items number 1, 2, 5 on page number 6. And I spell out exactly what needs to be done. But I'm going to go over this with you here shortly. But hey, York, if you are watching this, please bring in that that super fan, the name, because I forgot the name. I want to give her a quick shout out too as well. I think her name is Princess something. I'm not too sure. York, when you get a chance, come in here and tell me the name. I want to give her a quick shout out. So, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over this home inspection report together. So that way you guys can see exactly what's going on, how this thing is actually written up, and how we do things. So this is actually a resale. What is this girl's name, York? Was it? Prince what? Aeon? No, I don't think it's Aeon. I think it's Prince Aeon. It's not Prince Aeon, dude. All right, so I don't know the writing that York has, but it is not Prince Aeon. Princess what? Is it Prince? Prince what? Arion. Prince Arion. Look, I want to give you a quick shout out. She's a young cat. She wants to get into real estate. Also, I want you to give York a call. We got a sweater for you right here, Realtor Academy. So if you want to get started, we're going to hook you up. So reach on out to York. York, what's your telephone number real quick? 702-409-4495. Also, York, can you put your telephone number into the comments as well so that way she can give you a call? And we'll send you over this sweater, okay? So I just wanted to share that real quick. All right, so let's go over this report together. Okay, so this was a home that we actually got a great deal on this. I think we made $45,000 for our client on this one. This is a corner unit.
This was a nice house.
Yeah, it actually was. They actually got a really good deal. We stole this property. Now, here is the front of the report. Here is the table of content, right? So you really kind of break everything down as far as the structure, the exterior, the roof, the plumbing, electrical heating, the attic. So these are all the things that you really take a look at. Obviously, this is all broken down as far as like what page, right? So now we're going to scroll down here. So what is this section right here? Inspected, not inspected, right? Not present. So these are just kind of abbreviations that you'll put right next to your report or the pictures, right? Is that correct?
Yep, that just tells in the column, so it'll tell if something isn't there. Let's say the house doesn't have a microwave, we'll just put not present next to the microwave.
Okay. And it looks like you break it down the year of the home, the direction of it, you know, where it's facing, the temperature. Why is this temperature on the outside here important here?
It just because things may act or react differently depending on the temperature.
Yeah.
So it just gives us a baseline to know, and then if somebody calls me later on and says, you know, why did, you know, maybe the window was fogged, and we could see it that day, but we couldn't see it another day. Well, if the temperature was a certain range and it was cloudy, then that'll explain certain things that maybe we could see or not see. So.
Also, I think that's important as well, because sometimes during the, well, not sometimes, but all the time, during the wintertime, you're like, want to check the AC, but it's already like 60 degrees inside. How do you turn it down, right?
Yeah, and we really try to. I try to always at least be able to turn on and verify that the AC is going to work. And you mentioned about the home warranties. If you're going to have a home warranty, you should have a baseline that your unit worked whenever you purchased the home. And that just protects you. So if you get down the line and you have a problem, the home warranty company doesn't say that it was a pre-existing condition. So I always like to try to check them. Sometimes it might actually be too cold. So let's say it's in the 40s. Then we just may not be able to test it that day. And we want to make sure everybody is aware that we were not able to test it that day.
There's a part I want to cover is the summary part. In the summary part, this section just pretty much breaks down like all the major things that Ben has seen. And I look at this first before I get more into depth. And we kind of use this as a barometer of what's going on. So on this one right here, the fence here, what's going on with the fence? It looks like we do have some rusting on the fence here. So is that like a major problem?
No, this is a maintenance item, and that's why we put it under a maintenance item heading.
Yeah.
Now, I remember this house. This house was in such good shape that I put maintenance items in the main part of the summary, and I don't always do that. So let's say we were in an older house where we had a lot more repair items, then I'll break that out into two sections. So I'll put just the repair items together, and then I'll put the maintenance items together. In this case, we just put everything in the summary, and we put that in there under a maintenance heading. So that is not an immediate repair item.
Okay.
That's just to let you know that what you see there in the picture, that there was some rust on the fence.
So as a consumer, you have to decide, and you got to weigh your pros and cons. What should you be asking for? Sometimes buyer says, ask for everything. Well, when you ask for everything, the deal is probably not going to go through. So you kind of have to weigh your pros and cons, right? Are these things that you can fix yourself? Like this is something that I could definitely, fix myself, right? It's nothing major, but it's totally up to you as a buyer. Now let's move on. Exterior of the door here. Another maintenance item. Looks like you've got paint peeling here. And typically this is probably common, especially the home when it's, facing south, right? And you have the sun, right, rising in the east, setting in the west. Depending on the position of the home, this could literally bake your front door too as well. And this is where you start to get some of this peeling here. But again, this is probably low maintenance where you can probably, scrape and also paint, correct?
Yeah, this is, again, more of a maintenance item. You notice we see this a lot in houses that are 3 years old, 1 to 3 years old. So it's kind of a common new house problem. It has a lot to do with maybe the quality of the paint that was used originally. Yeah. And so when you do repaint it, you just upgrade the quality of the paint and it'll last a lot longer.
Is it because they didn't sand down the wood and they just painted right over? Because sometimes I notice the trim could have a light gloss to it, or sometimes what happens is there's a lot of construction going on. You have a lot of dust, and these guys are just painting right over the dust, right?
Yeah, and you've seen too on brand new homes where the paint's already starting to blister.
Yeah.
Even on a brand new home. So
Okay, so what's this right here? Another drainage, slow draining. What could be the problem for something like this?
yeah, so most likely a clogged drain, and this was at the outdoor kitchen. So this is a repair item now. So now we've upped the importance a little bit, because here's something that should be working in a certain way and that's not. So this is a sink that's not draining properly. Most likely the drain is clogged, which I believe is what ended up being the problem. But and so that's a repair item.
Okay, let me go back out here and make this a little bit wider here. Okay, let's see here. Now we're going to scroll down just a little bit. All right, so the hose valve, what's going on with this? We got some damage on the threads. So typically what would go here, right, you would have, what is it called?
Well, normally the backflow attachment.
Yeah,
right?
there you go. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the purpose of that?
So there is a requirement that you're supposed to have a little anti-siphon vacuum brake backflow attachment on there. The purpose is to keep the water that's outside the home from siphoning backward into the home. So you don't want to mix potable and non-potable together.
You need some water too?
Yeah, I think I do.
So basically what you are saying here is that, and this has happened a couple times, if you don't have that that breaker valve or that release, I don't know the proper term to it. I think it's called CVS or something like that. I forget the name of it. So
vacuum pressure brake.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, something like that. Now, the reason why you guys need this is because this is what happens. If you connect a hose to it, right, you're washing your car. You got a soap bucket. Sometimes people take the hose, throw the hose in the soap bucket. You don't want it to suck back into your house. So that's why that's there to prevent it. All right, so let's move on here. Dishwasher not working properly. The door sensors, right? What's going on with this?
Yeah, this was an interesting one. So again, this is a repair because this was something that wasn't working. In this case, the dishwasher. So the dishwasher would turn on, but it wouldn't start. And we found out later on, remember this one, that it needed a software update. Do you remember this?
Wow. Isn't that crazy where technology now you need software update for your dishwasher? That's just insane to me. Now, sometimes what happens is if the dishwasher doesn't even work, then that's probably a ticket that I would like to negotiate. But now, if it's like a piece of crap dishwasher, you know you're going to replace it, then don't ask for those things, right? Don't even negotiate it. All right, let's move on to here. So looks like the drain stop is actually missing. Is this even like important as far as like the drain stop here?
So I put it in there as a repair item because it's something in the bathroom that should work that's not working. Some people don't care. So, you know, as a buyer, you can always look at something and you can say, well, that's not important to me. And, you know, that's okay too. But, you know, it's something that should be there that's not there. So.
Okay. So I want to move on to this section right here. Looks like a water softener and conditioner is present at the garage. Okay. And is this a purification system? It looks like here.
So we got a couple things here. So we have a softener. That's the salt-based softener.
Okay.
That's all hooked up. So what I do with these is I look to see if it's hooked up and working, and I look to see if there's any leaks or anything like that. Because a lot of times people will just disconnect them, and if it's disconnected, then that's an obvious sign that it's not working.
Okay.
So we want to make sure it's hooked up and it's working. Which this one was, and we did the thermal image. You see the thermal image, we talked about that earlier. That would show up. You can see the cold water going through the system, and if there were any leaks even at the drywall behind the wall, that would show up there on the infrared.
Well, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So how do I know if there's a leak back here by looking at this?
If there was a leak, it would be a very bright blue color.
Okay.
And you see some hazy blue there. That's just the cold water going through the system. But if you look at something with the infrared and you see a really bright blue spot, then you know there's moisture there.
Nice. Okay, let's
there's your reverse osmosis.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Sometimes people will order this or you'll have it inside the home. How often do you recommend or replace these filters? And should somebody get like a quality control test for like the water, quality of the water?
I think you should. I think you should. There's some tests out there that'll tell you exactly how well your softener's working.
Okay.
Because our water is very, very hard. So you can get a grains of hardness test. It'll tell you how well the softener is working. And you can get just a test to tell you how well that reverse osmosis system is working too. And you probably want to change those filters probably every 3 to 6 months, depending on your usage. And that can be a do-it-yourself thing, or if you don't feel quite that savvy, there's people that'll come out and do that for you too.
So looks like you have crawled inside the attic.
Yep.
It looks like things are pretty good here inside the attic. You got this Eclipse radiant barrier. You want to explain what the radiant barrier is?
Yeah, so this is in newer houses. That's that foil that they put right under the roof surface there. It doesn't look like much, but it really does an amazing job of keeping the heat out. So it's going to reflect the heat from the sunlight back to the outside again. So big energy efficiency thing. So if you're looking at newer homes, big on energy efficiency.
So now when you are inside the attic, right, we have batten insulation, blown-in insulation. Are you looking at the ratings too as well, as far as like what the R rating is?
Yeah, and we're judging that by the depth of the insulation.
Okay.
And going back to the brand new homes, again, we've seen some cases here the last couple of years where they've been skimping a little bit on insulation. So when we're in the attic, we'll measure the depth of the insulation to see, and that'll give us the R rating. So if we know the thickness of it, then we can determine the R rating.
So moving on to the driveway, looks like we got some cracks and some staining. Should I be worried about this?
No, this is all typical. So we're kind of in the informational section here. So now nothing here, what we'd be looking for would be anything that would be big cracks, would be displacement. That's all good.
So, I mean, overall, this property is pretty good, right?
Yeah, this was a really nice house. So to have like maybe 2 or 3 repair items, that's very low for any home.
Now, I want to move on to a brand new home, okay? Because sometimes you'll see on brand new homes, there's just like problems. So on the 26th, I had you go out to do a home inspection for a client for me on this brand new home. We're not going to mention the builder because we don't throw builders under the bus, right? Now, tomorrow, I do have a new home orientation, which my clients are out of state, and I'm going to meet the superintendent, and I'm going to take this home inspection report. I'm going to go line by line to make sure all these items are done. So let's take a look at this one together because I'm sure you remember this one, right?
Yep, I remember that.
Okay, so again, table of contents. Here's your report key index. Here's the summary. Let's take a look at the summary. So what's going on with this driveway here? It looks like we have a couple of dried paint or cement or something.
Yeah, so things have changed a lot here between the other report because everything that I told you was kind of normal and typical in the other report. Mm-hmm. Now we're paying attention to this because of the fact that it's a new home.
Yeah.
So each one of these findings, like you see this one, it addresses what we call performance standards. And those are guidelines that came down from the National Association of Home Builders. And we're just really applying the industry's own standards to the condition. So this covers things that go above and beyond code, all the way down to what you see here, which is somebody dropped some paint on the pavers in the driveway.
Now, here's the verbiage on here. It says right here, in accordance with the performance standard as adopted by the Nevada Contractors Board, paint, stucco, cement. So here's the thing. When they start reading this, some buyers will actually get paranoid. They're like, oh, it has to be done because what you do is you have standards by the Nevada State Contractors Board. So people, sometimes they can get scared on certain verbiage that you put on here, right? Now, this is not a good example, but there's some sections I'm going to get into where you have this verbiage, and I'm gonna show you this in just a second. But I think this is important because sometimes buyer will read the verbiage and they'll just get paranoid, like, I don't want the home. But then this is important where they need to contact you to get more information, right?
Definitely.
So this is just an easy fix here. So we got some staining here. What was going on over here?
Well, here in this area that we have marked, and it doesn't show up quite as well in the picture, but there's some unevenness of the pavers. So there's some settlement that's occurring there where the pavers aren't level.
Okay, so basically they just got to rip it up and just impact the dirt a little bit more, make it all level, so that way you won't have that problem, right? So here's a common thing that I always see, especially on brand new homes, is the main wall. Sometimes you'll have cracks, chips, the paint. So you're going to have to power wash this, or sometimes what happens is you're going to have to take out a block and replace a block. What was going on here? It looks like we got some cement or concrete here, right?
Yeah, that's mostly just, I think, stucco and cement that got splattered up in the wall. And the obvious question is, isn't a lot of this cosmetic? And it is, that's why this is a lot more detailed than the regular inspection. But since this is a brand new home, these are standards that should be in place whenever you take control of your new home and you take the keys. You shouldn't have some of these things like the paint splattered and the stucco splattered.
Stucco or cement finish indicates has cracks. So right here. So this is a cap, right? Probably where your ceiling fan is going to go. Is that like a big deal?
Not really. No, there's just a
because the ceiling fan's going to cover it, right?
Yeah, it may, or they may not put a fan there right away. And if they don't, you don't want little critters and stuff climbing up into areas where they shouldn't be. So anywhere where there's voids and the stucco's not complete, we just point that out so it can be sealed and corrected and normal stuff. I mean, this is stuff that you
Minor.
see on
it's cosmetics.
Okay. Workmanship, yeah. It's workmanship.
All right, so right here we have a whip, and this is to your condenser. What's going on with this?
The area we're focused on is mostly right around where the condensation drains are. Again, there's some voids in the stucco. Yeah, it's not sealed. They probably made a penetration for the drains, and then they just didn't take time to caulk or seal around.
Why is that important to caulk and seal that?
Again, moisture intrusion and pest intrusion.
Okay, so it looks like we have the same thing up here on the soffit and the eaves here.
Yep, just some voids and yep.
Okay, so we got some cosmetic stuff right here. Let's talk about this on this eave right here. Is this a big deal where you have this a gap right here?
It is because it's going to progress. So whenever you put wood fascias and trim on a home, wood here is more susceptible to warping from sunlight than the stucco is. So that's something that if it's not really tight at the beginning, it's going to get a lot progressively worse over time. So,
but I noticed even though that you have it tight to the seam, it still buckles out after a while anyway.
Yeah, it might. The goal is to just get it as well as we can get it at the beginning, and then there'll be less maintenance hopefully down the road.
Okay, so this is all cosmetics here. Yeah. So again, we have just craftsmanship again, on the trim here on this door kick here, I think it's called, right? What is this called?
The threshold cover.
Oh yeah, the threshold. Yeah. So we got some concrete.
Yeah, just some paint and stuff there where it shouldn't be.
Now, this right here is probably something that I definitely would like to have fixed, right? So it looks like this is probably the screen door that's cracked.
This is the panel. This is the glass panel.
This is actually glass panel.
Glass panel. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So so definitely something like this we got to get fixed. Okay. So what's going on here?
So what we have here, again, this is just more cosmetic workmanship. So when they finished painting, they didn't detail everything off of the vinyl frame. So they should detail the vinyl frames and clean all that off there. And the same thing on the interior.
Here. Yep. Okay. So I think this is important right here. So we have the window frame, then we have the stucco that buds up against the window frame. So what's going on here, and how do we resolve this problem here?
Well, we're starting to see some separation between the stucco and the window frame. Now, kind of like the fascias you talked about, this will probably reoccur.
Okay.
But we want to get it as tight as we can get it now. Again, it's a caulking and sealing thing.
Okay.
Keep it tight so you don't have moisture and pest intrusion.
Okay. Same thing here too as well. One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of builders, when they're coming out here spraying on this stucco, these weep holes, they spray right over this weep hole. Kind of explain that weep hole and why is that important to keep that open?
So that's there to let any moisture that accumulates in the bottom of the window frame, that gives it a place to go to the outside.
Okay.
So it drains. And then if you cover it up with stucco, then it won't drain properly.
So now moving on top of the roof here. So we have just different color tile? Is that what's going on?
Well, they're actually a different tile. So if you look at the 3-ridge tile there that they used, is they have they're a grooved. Mm-hmm. They're a grooved textured tile, and every other tile on the house is a smooth tile. Now, functionally, is that going to make a huge difference? No, probably not. But if
aesthetically,
if I'm buying a new home, I just want my roof tile to match. That's
okay. Moving on to this rocker switch. What's going on with this rocker switch here? Is it not flush?
Yeah, we've got some face plates that aren't flush and tight to the wall. All these things should be tight and flush to the wall. So again, more workmanship stuff. And the same with this one, is just the alignment. There's some of the boxes and face plates, they get them crooked, so they just should all be visually aligned.
So the garage door is fire rated, right? So what's going on with this?
Yeah, so this is
automatically self-closing. It doesn't close?
Yeah, it doesn't close and doesn't latch. So this is a little more functional, and this particular door seemed to have some issues with the springs and latches.
Okay.
So this is functional because that fire door between your garage and your house, that's your fire separation. So that's supposed to be a solid door, and it's supposed to latch tightly. So that
okay, so it has to be sealed.
Sealed, yeah.
So this is just the hole here. Mm-hmm. Here, this is over at the tankless water heater.
Yep.
Again, we have intrusion for cockroaches and all that stuff. Same thing right here too as well. I mean, excuse me. Overall, this is
good.
Yeah, this is not that bad.
This is good. This is good.
Okay, so what's going on with all these baseboards here?
Oh, just baseboard and trim. And it seems inevitable. We always have kind of a big section of baseboard and trim. Mm-hmm. And it's just workmanship. You know, it's joints. You see joints that are overcut, joints that are crooked. There's a piece missing. There's a piece of missing baseboard in the kitchen. So it's just getting all that baseboard nice and tight and sealed and painted. And
okay, so basically just some caulking, some painting. This is not bad whatsoever. Kitchen. Let's see what's going on with the kitchen. Oh, front guest. What is this? Smoke detector not working?
Oh no, we got some paint. This is just some paint touch up.
Oh, paint touch up.
Paint touch up. Yeah. And texture and paint touch up.
What's going on with this right here?
Floor tile. Just some marking on the floor tile. Looks like they made scribe marks whenever they cut.
Oh, and they got to scrub it, huh?
Yeah, and they just got to clean.
Oh, this report is not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, this was nice. This was nice.
What's going on with these latches here?
Well, we got some windows that don't latch. Now, you can close them, and then you have to kind of fiddle with it and play with it to get it to latch. And you notice the one down in the next picture, it looks like they moved the latch or tried to move the latch on that one.
Oh, and they like screwed it up.
Yeah, and it's not latching, so they're not latching properly.
Is it because the window or it's not square?
Possibly. Yeah, it could be a little bit out, or it could be they just don't have the latch in the right spot.
Now, I know that we're going over our time. However, this is a lot of great information, so I want to stick at this real quick. So what's going on with these windows here?
Well, you mentioned this at the top of seals. There's some newer windows that do have problems with the seals. So what we're concerned about is a failure of the seal, and you'll know that happens whenever you get condensation that occurs between the window panes. Mm-hmm. And we don't know that it's progressed that far, but what we see in this window is the seal around the edge of the window has migrated into that space between the window panes. So that's a manufacturing installation problem. And that's something that could progress and probably would progress to failure of the
So we definitely want to avoid that. Yeah. So same thing here. What is going on here? Yeah.
I kind of see that metal piece, how that's in the space between the window panes there at the edge, and then the one at the bottom is flat. You see that's out where it should be.
Yeah.
And then that one has progressed.
I see this a lot. Does it really matter if the top of the door is painted?
It does. In fact,
why?
What's printed on the top of the door right there from the manufacturer, what that actually says is that the warranty is void if not painted on all 6 sides.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's what that says.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So it's to keep moisture out of the door. So especially in a bathroom where you have a lot of humidity, and on exterior doors, the moisture will get into the core of the door, and then the door will warp.
All right, so we got some hinges. That's not a big deal. Some dowel rods. Yep. This tends to happen right here. What I realize is a lot of trades, they'll just go in and not pilot the hole, and they'll just drill within the screw, and you'll have this crack. But obviously, this could be caulked and sanded. That's not a big deal. What's going on here? The door doesn't latch all the way. We got a gap.
Yeah, so this particular one, I believe it's either hung a little out of plumb or it's warped a little bit. So it's all the way closed at the top, but it's not closed where the latch is. So you have to give it an extra push.
Okay.
It's just a little bit warped. Let's
go through some, I want to see some more crazy stuff here. This is all cosmetics. All this stuff can be fixed, guys. This is not a big deal. The disposal was noisy when operating.
I think they dropped some screws into the disposal.
I've noticed that happens a lot lately. So you're just going to have to unplug it and dig your hand in there and grab it, right?
Yeah, get a magnet or something maybe.
Obviously, we're missing a cover here. We're going to skip all this. Obviously, this drain is not done. What's going on with this glass door here? Shower door seal at the primary bathroom is damaged.
Yeah, the door is fine all the way down in the lower corner there. Up just a little bit. Right there,
Here.
the seal's damaged right there.
Oh, okay, so basically you just take off that piece of plastic and install it. Okay, I thought it was a door alone. The tub overflow cover and the drain in the snob at the guest is unmatched. You know what?
This I had a question about because I wasn't quite sure about this.
I did too, because when we first walked in and talked about it, they don't really have one that matches. This is the standard because this is a Delta. And this is what I always tell my clients, like, look, if you're trying to match all your fixtures, depending on the brand, you may not have the same color matching, but you want to get as close as possible.
I was thinking the same thing when I saw that. I just wanted to put it in front of you to be completely sure that was the one.
So the exterior drywall vent damper is stuck. Yeah. What is this damper and why is this damper important?
So that's that little flap that you see right there. When the fan's not running, that flap should go all the way closed, and then when the dryer in this case comes on, it'll open up. If it doesn't close all the way, you're going to get air intrusion. You're going to hear it when the wind blows.
Yeah.
So and even pests, because you can't put a screen on a dryer vent.
Yeah.
So you want that to close all the way when the dryer's not running.
So it's probably not opening because it's probably bent. I'm sure if you just bend it straight, you should be fine on that.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
So I think that's pretty much it for this report. I mean, it's not bad of a report. Look at this. You also have that radiant barrier, but it's not the Eclipse. You've got that blown-in insulation.
And they had enough. There was enough there. Yeah, this is a good report.
This was a good place. This is pretty much the whole report. So now, I guess the most important thing is how much does a home inspection cost, right? We need to know this.
Yeah, so
how does it work?
So we base it a little bit on the square footage of the house. The bigger the house, the more expensive it is.
Yeah.
So it starts anywhere from, let's say, $250 for a condo up to maybe $350 for a regular sized home, up to maybe $450, $500 for a large home, and that's just kind of a range.
What about if you got a pool and spa? I think this is important.
We do add about $40 for a pool and spa.
Okay. So real quick, what do you guys check when it comes to the pool and spa? Because obviously you guys look at it, but you guys don't go real into depth with it. But obviously you want to make sure it works, right? Because that's what you cover.
Leaks, function, house things working. And I'll tell you, if there's going to be deferred maintenance in a home, it's almost always with the pool equipment.
I noticed that. And we're always negotiating. So, Ben, I do appreciate you coming on out here and taking your time, okay? You did mention that you're doing how many home inspections a week?
You know, this year has really ramped up. You know, we're up to probably 25 to 30 a week right now.
That just shows you what's going on within the marketplace. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you to do a home inspection, what is the best, or where's the best place to get a hold of you?
You can call me, my cell phone directly. It's an 814 area code, 814-470-5582, or look us up on social media at VIP Inspection LV.
All right. Well, Ben, I do appreciate you coming on out here. Now, guys, if you guys want a home inspection, I'll have a link in the description below. Also, if you're a real estate agent out there, you need a good home inspector, this is my go-to guy. This guy I always use. And I will have all the link in the description, have York put all that stuff. You know, also, if you guys haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Until next week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm out. Peace.
Is your credit score holding you back from purchasing a home? GC Credit Coaches is a repair company that's made easy. Their goal is to challenge and remove all negative errors that hurt your credit score. On average, GC clients see about 10.2 negative items removed over 4 months. Start improving your credit score today with a simple 2-minute online enrollment for a free consultation and a complete credit audit. GC Credit Coaches offers competitive monthly pricing, no contracts, no hidden fees, and the service stops once you are satisfied. GC Credit Coaches removes inquiries, collections, charge-off bankruptcies, and repossessions. Don't forget to visit gccreditcoaches.com.
Attention contractors, remodelers, and homeowners. Is your renovation becoming a pain in the glass? Here at Glass Vegas, we take care of all of your glass needs. From a broken window to custom shower doors, mirrors, winding closures, storefronts, railings, and much more. We can even help you with new or replacement thermally broken windows. We're a full-service, woman-owned glass company that provides unparalleled workmanship, excellent communication, and great customer service. Glass Vegas, we do glass with class.